Hello everyone, Seraphin here, welcome back for my new player's guide to Fire Emblem Heroes. Today we're going to take another look at the story area of the battle screen. We're going to go through the other options that are currently available on this area. So, we've seen the main story already with its various chapters and parts and books and different things. We're going to go ahead and look at Paralogs real quick. This is very similar to the main story, in fact it's nearly identical, except we can actually access every single part right away, instead of having to wait to go through them in order. That seems a little weird, and in my opinion, yeah, it kind of is, but what is a paralog, or a xenolog as it says here? These are basically side quests. These are not part of the main story, and these typically accompany the release of new heroes, particularly seasonal variants. So we can see here, Paralog 4 focuses on the Spring Festival, and we have spring versions with bunny ears of Chrom and Lucina. And if we scroll up through here, we see a lot more seasonal variants. There is a Bride Sheeta and a Bride Lyn here for Paralog 6. We've got Summer Paralogs, all this other jazz. These primarily come out with new versions or seasonal versions of heroes. And these differ only slightly from main story modes in that there's only 3 parts per chapter, or per Paralog rather. But they still all award 1 orb for completing the first time, and there still are 3 difficulties. So, from a given Paralog, if you finish all 3 parts on all 3 difficulties, that is 9 orbs per Paralog. And as you can see here, there are 44 of them currently. So just do the math in your head, that's a lot of orbs. This is also a great way to get silhouettes filled up in your catalog of heroes, so you can see what units you're missing, because these count as having seen them when you battle them in here. And I think just going through the main story and going through all the Paralogs, it should at least show off all of the different heroes in silhouette in your catalog of heroes. I think it does. Might be a couple that aren't shown in there, like legendary or mythic heroes, for example, I don't think are shown in there. But if you run into those during Ether raids or Arena, which you very commonly will because they're the most prominent ones that are featured in those modes, they will show up as silhouettes in your catalog of heroes. So that's the Paralogs. Again, very similar to story, just separate a little bit. Tactics drills. These are fun. These are really cool. I like these when they added them. So these are 3 different difficulties of puzzles that you can do. These don't use your own units. They use pre-built ones that they give you. And they have pre-allotted sets of skills and predetermined enemies and everything. And they generally have a specific number of turns to complete them. The idea is to figure out how to beat the map in the allotted amount of time with the units that you're given. And it usually revolves around using a certain mechanic, using a certain skill, using a certain weapon, that kind of thing. And there's actually little hints that pop up too. Let's go ahead and look at basics real quick. We can see here that there are, how many? There are 21 basic tactics drills here. And we're going to go ahead and just click on the first one just so you can get a look at these. And these actually do give you rewards for completing them. Generally speaking, it is going to be feathers, but I think every 5th or 6th one will give you an orb. So go ahead and do these at your leisure. You do get stuff for doing them, and that's a great way to learn all the different skill interactions in the game if you don't already are familiar with them, rather. So this is the tactics drill number 1. It says here, drag Anna to a foe space to initiate combat. When the cooldown counter by her shoulder shows the special symbol, her special will trigger on her next attack. So we're going to go ahead and click on Anna. We see here that we have 3 turns to complete this particular challenge. And we start with the player phase. The enemy phase ticks it down to 1, and then the player phase, again, will take it down by another 1. So what that means is we have 2 player phases and 1 enemy phase to finish the map. If we don't successfully do it by the end of that turn, then we fail, we try again. We're going to go ahead and move Anna over here. And what this is telling us is she'll attack twice for 12 and be hit once for 7. So she'll hit twice, which will tick her counter down by 2, and the enemy will hit her once, ticking it down to ready to go. The idea here being that on our turn, we'll have it ready to go. On their turn, this blue dragon will move in the top corner here, and then our turn, we will attack it and kill it with our special. And that will be the end of the map. Let's go ahead and initiate battle here. And then the dragon moves up, and then we just go ahead and we have now 1 turn left, which is just this turn, and our special is charged. As you can see by the little symbol there, and the fact that Anna's square is now glowing a dull purple pink here. That means her special's ready. So we'll go ahead and move her up here. And you can see normally we would do 16 times 2, and he would do 9, but the reason why our HP is not going down by 9 is because we're going to kill him in a single hit because our special will activate. This guy turns into a dragon.
This one's on the house.
So you can see when your special activates, you get a prompt on top saying your special is activating, and then you get the special artwork that appears during the battle screen, and you also get a special quote from Anna when it activates. Every hero has special artwork, and every hero has special quotes that activate or that play when they activate their specials, which I think is really cool. And here we get feathers for completing that. So that's the learn how to play ones, basically. So that one was all about how to activate specials. Red, blue, and green is all about the weapon triangle. Ranged attacks is about ranged attacks. Can't fight back, I imagine, has to do with not being able to counter at certain distances. Effective attacks, attacking with magic, understanding breath. If you want to learn more about skill interactions or game mechanics, come here first. And these are neat little, almost tutorials, really, of teaching you how to play using the various different mechanics that are available in the game. Very, very fun, very, very cool. Go here first and do these as soon as you're done with the prologue. And then that's just the basics. If you want to learn about specific skills and how those work, that is what the skill studies are for. So we see here the first one under skill studies is Hone and Fortify. We're actually going to show you this one too, because this is actually really important. This involves buffs and debuffs primarily. So let's take a look here. The Hone and Fortify series of C skills grant bonuses to adjacent allies' stats at the start of a turn. Lyn needs the help of her allies to defeat this foe. So we can see here we have Brave Lyn. This is the version of Lyn that won the Choose Your Legends event the first year the game came out. She is a bow unit on a horse, which is awesome. And she has a skill in her A slot called Kestrel Stance. Whenever she is attacked, she gets attack and speed +4 during combat. Now this is a distinction that needs to be made because she is not gaining that attack and speed as a blue buff. It is only during combat, meaning it is an unseen bonus. You will not actually see this stat change reflected on her screen because it only is in effect when she's actively engaging in battle. So there's a distinction between during combat bonuses and something like Fortify Cavalry here, which says grants attack and defense +6 to adjacent cavalry units for 1 turn. When something says for 1 turn, or through unit's next action, that is generally going to be a blue buff that you can actually see on the screen. That is that's called a visible buff, whereas Lyn's Kestrel Stance is an invisible buff, but it's still in effect when there's certain conditions are met. So we have Jagan here, and we looked at Fortify Cavalry already. This says that at the start of the turn, adjacent cavalry allies get defense and resistance +6 for 1 turn. That is a really big benefit. +6 is about as high as any buff goes in this game. I think actually 7 is the most. So if you can manage to get an increase of 7 to a stat from a visible buff, that's about as big as one you can get. Same with debuffs. The biggest debuff you'll ever be able to inflict on an enemy, like those red numbers, is -7. So plus and -7 is about as big as the visible buffs go. The ones that are in combat, though, these can go pretty darn high, and they all stack together. What that means is, and we've also got Gunter down here, he has Hone Cavalry, which gives attack and speed +6 to cavalry units for 1 turn. So whenever you see the word Hone in a skill, it's generally going to be increasing either attack or speed. It might even be both in this case. When you see Fortify, that's going to be increasing either defense or resistance or both. So Jagan actually has a really cool skill where he buffs all horse allies, and Gunter buffs all horse allies as well. So the two of them together, if we put Lyn between the two of them, and then end the turn actually, if we wait till the start of our next turn, we will see here that Jagan and Gunter are both going to buff Lyn because she's an adjacent cavalry unit. And now she has +6 to all 4 of her stats. Defense and resistance from Jagan, and attack and speed from Gunter. That's really, really good. That is an amazing buff. So now I think if we initiate on this archer, or this mage, we'll completely clean him, yeah. So if we hadn't had those buffs, we probably wouldn't be able to do that. because this guy's just too darn fast and too darn tanky to worry about getting killed in a single round. In fact, if Lyn didn't have +6 to speed, she'd be at 34. This guy's got 30 speed, so Lyn would not double him. That's outside of the +5 threshold for double hitting. And as we see, this guy also has renewal, so he's healing himself every turn. And Lyn's bow is actually really nice, by the way. We'll talk about this some other time, but Brave Lyn is one of the best units in the game. And even today, she was amazing when she came out, and she's still really good today. So if you can get your hands on a copy of Brave Lyn, I highly encourage you to do so. So now we're seeing that we're learning about the interaction between the Fortify and Hone skills. And there are a great many characters in this game that come with Fortify and Hone skills. There's Hone Cavalry and Fortify Cavalry for horse units. There's Hone and Fortify Flyers for flying units. There's Hone and Fortify Armored units. There's Hone and Fortify Dragons for dragon units, and as well as for beast units. Sadly, there is no Hone and Fortify Infantry. Infantry is kind of a standout in that regard, but there are other skills that allow you to get this big of bonuses on infantry allies.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and pick off this mage with Lyn and end the skill study here. And that is a clear stage, and we get some free feathers for that. So yeah, again, the good way to learn about skill interactions and how all of this stuff works is to come here and do these how to play studies and the skill studies. Finally, there's Grandmaster, which I'm not sure how we unlock, probably for doing all the basic ones. But these are really, really challenging. These aren't necessarily for learning purposes. These are just for veteran players who are looking for a challenging puzzle to complete. And some of them are stupid hard. I have managed to complete a lot of them without any outside help, but for a few of them, I just ended up smashing my head against them so long, and I got so sick and tired of it. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to look up a guide on how to do it. I would say don't feel too bad if that's you, because honestly, they're meant to be really, really difficult. And trying to figure out all the different interactions between skills in this game, because a lot of it can be overwhelming at times, especially when you've got, you know, potentially 8 different skills on a given unit, and that's just one of them on the board. And you've got to figure out how they interact with all the other ones on the board. It's a headache. It really is. So give that a try once you've had some time to get familiar with the game if you want to. But don't be upset if you have to look up how to beat it. Obviously, look up how to beat it on how to get the reward. But if you want to try to figure it out for your own sake, then be my guest. I certainly will not judge you either way. But they are fun to try to figure out. So that is the tactics drills. There's also this little thing on the bottom called Learn with Sharina. This actually opens up in a web page. And this is like a little, like, kind of how to play the game that the developers actually added. Like learning about duo heroes, learning about pair up, learning about status icons, learning about dragon flowers and heroic ordeals, all this other jazz. This is an in-game method of learning how to play some of the more advanced stuff. Or tips for the arena, switching skills, all this other fun stuff. There's a lot to go through. So if you're at all interested, come here and do that too if you want to. We're going to go ahead and switch back to the game now. That's what tactics drills are all about. Heroic ordeals, these are weird. These are one of the ways of earning dragon flowers in the game, but as you can see, you don't get very many from doing it. The number below the unit's picture is how many you get for finishing it. Any units that have been in the game since the first year, so like Alphonse, Sharina, and Drog, and Bowie, they only give you 2. Units that have been around since the 2nd year onward, basically, or I guess the 2.5 year onward, like Brave Veronica, for example, or Legal or Libra, they give you 8. And any units that have only come out within the last year and a half or so give you 40. So, yeah, there's that. But what these heroic ordeals are is you have to use the unit that's pictured on here, as well as one other one of your choice. And you have to clear these 4 units on top here. These are the ones you're going to be fighting against. One of them is always going to be a clone of the one that's required to be used. And the other one of your choice, obviously. But the unit that is being featured in this one, meaning Alphonse's heroic ordeal, you need to get at least 2 of these units killed with the featured unit. Otherwise, you don't earn the reward. So you can't just plug in whatever units it's meant for and have your other unit carry the whole thing. The unit being featured actually has to kill at least half the units. Otherwise, you don't get the flower rewards. And you can only do these once per unit. Once you complete a heroic ordeal for unit and get their dragon flowers, you cannot do it again for them. I think you still do it, but you won't get a reward for it. You can actually click on check map up here so to see the map on the board here. So it's these 4 units in this orientation, and we can see all their skills and everything up top here, what we're up against, basically. So again, come in here if you want some flowers. Don't worry about this, though, because I haven't even done all these yet. It's kind of a slog, really. Some of them are a lot more difficult than others. But there is something nice here. It says, ally boost 1 time daily until ordeal is cleared. What this means is, if you go into one of these ordeals that's particularly challenging and you just can't get through it, if you do it the first time each day, the unit that's being featured will have bonuses to their stats. And I think that bonus is +4 to all their combat stats and +10 to their HP, which is a lot. So if you're really struggling completing any one of these, go in the first time in a day and you'll have a bonus. But it says until ordeal is cleared too, so if you fail, you can keep trying again with that bonus, which is nice. And then multi-map battles, I don't think we get access to these until we complete more of the story. But there's 3 different types of multi-map battles, and we'll explain those when we unlock them. I'm going to play on my own time on this account, get some more story cleared up to unlock this, and we'll go over that when I get access to it. The other things we're going to go over today are these special maps. That is the top right corner. And in the special maps, there are a couple of different rotating things that are always available in here, and they're very, very good. So it says here, when to get Grand Heroes as allies. We'll talk about Grand Hero battles. We see here that there's Grand Hero battle rotations. There's a few of those. Actually, this is just a regular hero battle rotation. We'll talk about that too. And there's also just different kinds of maps in here. So, the first thing you're going to see is on the very bottom here is the free hero battle with a silver border here. And this is kind of cool. So, you as a new player don't have any of these yet probably, but there is a setup of... How many units was there? There's... in the rotation, there is Felicia, Riss, Olivia, Stahl, Sophia, Virian, Hana, Tsubaki, Donald, Lissa, Gunter, and Cecilia. So that's 12 units. You can get 2 copies of these 12 units for free without having to summon them just from doing the daily rotation. So today's rotation is Donald, the village hero. We have 9 hours left to do it. There is a hard and a normal difficulty, level 5, level 15, as we can see here. Completing both of these will give you a free copy of Donald, Village Hero. And this is the weird one, because completing the normal version will give you a 1-star version of Donald. Completing the hard one will give you a 2-star version of Donald. Now, when you go to summon, if you get Donald from a summoning session, he'll actually be either 3 or 4 stars, not 1 or 2. So the one caveat to earning these free heroes from this daily rotation is that they're slightly lower, like they're lower tier. But thankfully, ranking up a unit from 1 star to 2 and then from 2 to 3 is really, really cheap and really, really easy. So if you're looking for a copy of Donald and you haven't had any luck summoning him, wait for his daily rotation to happen and you can come in here and get 2 free copies of him. Now, the only downside of this is once you get the 1 and the 2 star, that's all you get. You can't actually come in here when he's on the rotation again and get more of him. You only can ever get 1 of each of these 2 copies. So obviously, me having played for a long time, I have the 2 free copies, and I've probably either already gotten rid of them because, quite frankly, I've pulled Donald so many times I'm sick of looking at him. But he's not a bad unit to have starting out. And again, this rotates every 12 days. Or not every 12 days. There was 1 new one for every 12 days in a given set. So today it's Donald. Tomorrow it will be... Oh, who did it say it was? Tomorrow it'll be Lissa. The day after that it'll be Gunter. Then Cecilia, so on and so forth. So come in here every day. Make sure you grab these 2 free copies of the units just to have them. They're good to have. And a lot of the times, if you're really struggling with a given really challenging map, like there's legendary hero battle maps or the other or grand hero battle maps, there's guides online. There is a gentleman by the name of Phoenix Master 1 actually, who does free-to-play guides for all these really, really challenging game modes, and he only uses, holy smokes, he only uses units that are given away for free, meaning that you can freely obtain without having to spend orbs on, and he's fantastic at them, and he sometimes will include these units in here, so come and get these as quick as you can, and if necessary, level them up. Olivia, in particular, is one he uses quite a bit, because she's a dancer, and dancers are amazing in this game. Hana's also a really good free unit to have, as well as Lissa, because she's a healer. They're so good. Just come in here and get them. So that is the daily hero rotation. Next up, we have these 2. These are the 2 rotating Grand Hero battles that happen every day. And there's 2 different sets of them. And a Grand Hero battle is an example of a unit who was in the game but is not available to summon for. So no matter how many times you summon, you will not get these units on a summoning session. The only way to get them is to come in here and do their Grand Hero battle. So these are basically, they're typically speaking, when they first came out, they were like enemy units, like from a story perspective. So like Xander's in here. Xander is, by definition, kind of, for the most part, like an enemy unit in a lot of the ways he's viewed in, especially in this one. But you can get a copy of him if you complete these Grand Hero battles. In fact, you can get up to 3 of them. Now, you notice there is no normal version of Grand Hero battles. It starts out at hard, and then goes to Lunatic, and then goes to Infernal, and then finally goes to Abyssal. So these are really freaking hard. Some of them can be really freaking hard. We see here the bottom level for earning a copy of Xander is level 30, and the Lunatic version is level 40. 40 plus means that the units are actually level 40, but they have inflated stats. And then you see there's 1 extra unit in the Infernal one than there is in the other 2. There's an extra, looks like a green tome unit, than there is in the other 2. Abyssal is even freaking harder than that, and these get absolutely insane. Some of the Abyssal modes, even the Infernal ones are really freaking hard. The nice thing about Grand Hero battles, though, is you'll see here, they cost no stamina to do. So you can come in here and attempt them as much as you want, which is really nice. But again, they're really freaking difficult. But completing the hard mode will give you a 3-star version of Xander. Completing the Lunatic will give you a 4-star copy of Xander. And completing the Infernal will give you a 4-star copy of Xander and 2,000 feathers. So very nice. You can get up to 3 copies of him just from doing these. And then the Abyssal version, believe it or not, doesn't actually give you a copy of Xander. It gives you a random accessory. Not random. It gives you a set one, but it's a golden version of an accessory. Those little cosmetic items for your heroes to wear. All the Abyssal versions always give you those golden cosmetics. So you don't have to do Abyssal to earn a copy of Xander. It's just there as an unbelievably stupid challenge. And there's some absolutely ridiculous versions of these. Like, I had to use guides for a couple of these because I just couldn't do it. It's ridiculous. So anyway, there's 2 different rotations of those. So today is Xander and Arvis. Tomorrow it will be 2 different Grand Hero battles, and then Tuesday it will be 2 different ones. These rotate every day, and it's a weekly cycle. So there's 7 different ones for each rotation, which means there are 14 different Grand Hero battles to do total from the daily rotation. And they will always be here. These don't go away. So come do these once you've got some progress in the game and have some better teams built up that are preferably max level, because these are hard. And again, don't be ashamed if you need to look up a guide how to beat them if you want the hero really badly, because they're really, really challenging. When I first started playing this game, some of the first Grand Hero battles I was able to finish without any help, but it was a slog. Nowadays, I just kind of don't care anymore, but if you really want to challenge, these are a great way to do that. Special training. This is probably the most useful aspect of this game, in my opinion, because it's so good. We're looking at basically a smattering of training maps. All of these maps will have generic enemies on them, like generic unnamed enemies, and there will be a lot of them, and they will continuously respawn and come attack you. You clear them out, you get experience, and you get skill points. And I think there's only so many, like between like 20 and 25 units that come attack you in a given map. But we have one that's level 5, one that's level 14, one that's 21, one that's 28, and finally one that's 34. So rather than using the training tower, if you want to level up units quickly and get a lot of skill points quickly, come here and do it. Because you can do the level 5 one at level 1, really. It's not that hard, especially if the unit's a good one. Like, clear that out, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one, until you're level 40. And at the end of that, not only will your unit be maxed out, and like you can do it in like 20 minutes. It does not take very long at all to get a unit from level 1 to level 40 doing this. But the first time you beat all these maps in a given time, you get blessings and you get orbs, which is cool. But you also get to keep all the skill points you earn, obviously. And there are different versions of this special training for given types of units. So today, it is bows, meaning that units that use bows should do this, because all the enemies in this map are flying enemies. In fact, we can probably look at the map, I think. If we click on this button right here, this blue one. Yeah, so this is the special training for bows. All the units are flyers. If you bring an archer to this map, they're just going to absolutely pick off all the guys with wings, and they'll level up really quick. There is a version of this special training for magic users, where it's nothing but slow armor knights with crappy resistance, and they're hiding behind walls, so you just lob magic at them from a distance and they can't hurt you. There's a version of this for melee units, specifically, that are all melee, so you just stand there and let them come to you and attack you and just beat the crap out of them. There's a version of this for ranged units, so like daggers and bows and mages, where it's like a smattering of all three of those. And finally, there is one called the Workout, which is basically a little bit of everything. Ranged, melee, magic, archers, cavalry, everything. But again, clearing these out the first time does give you rewards, and it is the single fastest and most efficient way, in my opinion, based on my experience, of leveling up and training your heroes, whether they need more skill points to learn new skills, or you just want to level them up from 1 to 40. Best way to do it right here, in my opinion. And this rotation is daily, and it's between the melee, the ranged, the bows, the magic, and the workout. So those 5 different flavors of map. And there's 5 different difficulties. So do all 25 of those, you'll get orbs, and you'll get your heroes leveled up really quick. The only downside, I guess, is that the stamina cost of all these maps is a little expensive. It's 5 for the basic ones, 10 for the hard, and 15 for the toughest ones. So bring some potions. Next up, we've got rival domains. We're actually going to go with this some other time because this is more of a kind of an advanced thing. It's bigger than an average map. It's actually a lot bigger, and you use a lot more guys in it. But there's also something that rotates around in addition to Grand Hero battles. The top thing in here will usually be a limited time event. So right now we have a Bound Hero battle. There's 7 days left, and it's between Dimitri and Edelgard from 3 houses. And there's 3 different difficulties. Doing these just gets you orbs, that's it. And only 1 time, so no matter how many times you play them over, you can only get the orbs once. But the hard mode is 2 orbs, the Lunatic is 3, and the Infernal is 4. So a total of 9 from beating these 3 maps. And these rotate out every so often. They do periodic reruns of these Bound Hero battles. And all they are is a special map with these 2 units featured prominently on them. So doing this map, we can look, if you click on the blue button here, this is the map, and we see Edelgard is on it, and so is Dimitri. And then there's some other random nameless filler units. The idea here is to beat this unit, or to beat this map rather, and it's usually pretty challenging. They set these up just like Grand Hero battles, where the units on here are limited, but they're oriented and they have such certain sets of skills that make them really difficult to complete. But doing them will get you free orbs. It's really nice to do. When these get rerun, by the way, typically there will be quests associated with them that if you complete them using a certain hero or a certain team composition, like all infantry or all cavalry, you can earn more orbs for rerunning them later. And again, these do not cost any stamina to run, just like a Grand Hero battle. And there's also similar types of battles like for these special maps called Legendary and Mythic Hero battles. And usually toward the end of the month, the last week of the month, they will release a new Legendary or Mythic Hero to the game, and that will accompany with, obviously, an accompanying Legendary or Mythic Hero battle. It's the same concept here as the Bound Hero battles. You just fight the Legendary Hero and a bunch of their nameless allies, and you'll earn orbs. Sadly, you don't get a free copy of the Legendary Hero or Mythic Hero. That'd be a little bit ridiculous if you did. But when those are active during the summoning focus for the Legendary Hero or Mythic Hero, their battle will be here too. And they'll also rerun a lot of previous Legendary and Mythic Hero battles. They're all really, really freaking hard. So again, do not feel bad if you need to look up a guide. I highly encourage you to look up Phoenix Master 1 and look at his free-to-play guides for those battles. And that will allow you to complete them, get the rewards, and move on with your life without having to invest in really high-level teams or require certain heroes that you may not have access to. It'll be purely units that you can get in the game for free. So that's pretty much the breakdown of the special maps. Whenever special events happen in the game, like the anniversary, the 3-year anniversary of the game, or like there's something called Golden Week in Japan that happens every year. I forget when exactly it happens. I think it's in May. But basically what that means is they'll come in here and they'll do reward maps. And there's none here I can show you right now, but it'll literally say on it reward map or something. And more of them get added every day, and you come in there, you do them. They're super easy. They just give you free orbs. So they make you work for them a little bit, but you can clear them in like 30 seconds. And if I ever have a chance to show you that, I will, but right now there aren't any. And again, we'll talk about rival domains some other time. But that's pretty much the breakdown of the training tower and the special maps. So next time we'll go over special events, and eventually we'll get to ether raids on the top here, but we'll do that one thing at a time. So thank you for watching up to this point. I really do appreciate it. I hope this has been helpful for all of you new players who are curious what all this stuff is about. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you are so inclined, and leave a like on this video if you are also so inclined. I would very much appreciate it. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Until then, this has been Seraphin. Stay classy, internets.